Good morning everyone. You know, I said I wasn't going to do any more on location filming this year. I lied. I have got one more planned that I remembered I'd forgotten. This one wasn't, but I'm back on duty at the railway at Bodiam station today, and the crossing keeper this time, so I got time to do some filming. Last time I brought you here we'd just come back to work, so we hadn't even opened to the public yet. I then did a bit of filming on the first weekend of services. Now, as you can see, we are up and running again, although it's for pre-booking only. And this weekend would have been our first festival. Except, of course, we don't have any visitors. The ground would normally be absolutely buzzing this time. However, unfortunately it's not, but I can still take you on a little tour and show you a few bits and pieces I didn't show you last time. As you can see, the hedge on the opposite side of the station is nice and tidy, and everything is looking nice and fresh. Doesn't that look nice with the hedge neatly trimmed? I think I mentioned too that I was helping Gay with planting up these lovely tubs on the station platform, which have come up very well indeed. Look at that, lovely. It really does create a nice welcoming atmosphere for people arriving at the station. We've got a coach party arriving this morning for the first train. So the one difference you'll notice is we've got the sign back above the toilets. Huxford Coal and Coke Merchants, and I won't take you on a tour of the toilets. What I will do is to take you once again up into our little field. Last time I mentioned the hopper's hut. This time I'll let you have a look inside. I don't know how much you can see in this light, but this is typical of a hopper's hut from the 1950s. The stuff they would bring down, sometimes in old prams, sometimes in trunks that they sent down in advance. As you can see, very rudimentary. There's a little primer stove there to make the tea on. Can I see it? Yep, there it is. A little paraffin heater. And won't they all wake up with black faces if it burns down to the wick during the night? But there you are. Little radio, pegs of the old-fashioned type, OXO tin for putting bits and pieces in, a little alarm clock, and the old-fashioned stone foot warmer. And to believe me, nothing warms a bed like that. So there you are. This obviously looks more for a single person, but very often you'll find a whole family in a space not much bigger than that. Now, I did mention, if you remember, our hop garden. Well, Frank and Vic have worked miracles considering the late start that we had. And although obviously we don't have a festival where we can pick them to make garlands and that, we did get a small crop of hops this year, and they're just starting now to turn brown. And I'm just going to pick one so that I can get a bit out of the sun. Let's go over to the shade. Let's get under the shade here so I can see a bit more what I'm doing. There's a hop. You've probably all seen a hop before, but there might be one or two that haven't. And that's what goes in your beer, folks, the dried hops, and then into the ground as fertiliser. Now what I used to like to get people to do at the hop festivals, and I'm just going to pick one off here, you take a little segment and you just rub it between your thumb and forefinger, and that releases the hop oils. And you can do it with the whole hop, but it's not quite the same. And the smell is very distinctive all on its own. And Frank has done miracles at the garden here. I mean, look at this. We have a lovely display of dahlias this year, and as you can see as I go round, and that noisy motorbike in the background, we've had some lovely colours, all different sorts, sizes, type. Look at this one here. What a lovely colour. We've been very successful with, let's come up here, we've got some very nice runner beans, some really sweet peas, we've got tomatoes ripening here, there's a couple of ripe ones down there, and some more on the vine there. Damn sight better than mine come out. We've had sweet little baby carrots, there's plenty of beetroot, and it looks to me like the potatoes are almost ready to be dug. So some success, but as I said before, we got such a late start that we didn't really have much of a chance to do what we normally do. I think the guys who come here on Tuesdays and Thursdays have done an absolutely brilliant job. I know I'm included in that, but really my part has been very, very small. It's a team effort. Here's our line of stock. Obviously almost all of it we hope to fully restore one day, but in the meantime it makes an interesting addition, and the sort of thing you might have found in an average branch line siding. And in celebration of hoppers, we have our own little exhibition in the waiting room here, dedicated to the hop industry. This was all owned by Guinness at one time, and there is a map on the wall, shows the location of all the Guinness farms in the area. Here's Bodiam station, and you can see how the farms were spread all over the area, and also around what was Junction Road Halt on what was the A229. All the individual farms had their own allocation of people, but this section here now, I'm going to take you to the door, and if you peek through the windows of that, you'll see the hill on the other side. That is where I just pointed on the map. That's now a vineyard. So times have changed, and on the wall here we've got photos of quite a few of the families that used to come here. I know I'm being biased, but that's my family. My gran and granddad, my great gran and her daughter, and my mother and brother as children with my great gran and a friend of hers. And a friend of the family carrying a bottle of Guinness. How strange. And as you can see as I walk by, I know there's a reflection from the window on the other side, but we've got exhibitions showing how the hop pickers arrived, and here you can see quite clearly that we have done a very good restoration of the station and kept it as much as we possibly can in its original form, which is all good. It's all good. I know we've been having to use this as a bit of a storeroom at the moment, but there's some hops, a representation of the oast house where you would take the hops to dry, and some hop pockets, measured amounts of hops in there, and a little model that we've got here. I'll lower it down, you might see a bit more clearly, showing again one of the hoppers' huts. Sorry for the reflections, it's just unfortunately the way it is in here at the moment. We'll get something better done when all this is over and we can start opening up things again. So that's the tour of the station as it is now. You can see we have done a fair bit of work on it during the summer, and obviously we're pleased to welcome folk again. They're running, I should say this is September the 13th, I think it is, 2020. Wait a minute. Yes, the 13th. I lose track of what day it is. We're running Wednesdays, Saturdays and Sundays during September, and weekends in October, so there's still time for anybody to come and book a ride. And I hope to take a couple of pictures later on, because we've not just got the ordinary service train running, we've got an extra train running. I won't tell you what it is, I'll wait until I can take the video of it. But that's all for now, and I'll join you again later. Oh, as you can see, a bit more activity now the train's arrived.
If you have time, I suggest you look at the hop garden which is behind the toilet block, and also the small hopper's hut. The Londoners used to come down this particular weekend years ago to pick the hops for the Guinness Brewery.
Yeah, so we do have some activity. That's the first train of the day. This is number 25 Nordium. I think the last time you saw a loco it was the Yankee 300. Still got his lamp on the rear. I hope they'll remember to take it off and put it on the front. Change the point, reset the lock, lock the frame, pass the token back to the driver, which is their authority to return on the single line section to Northiam. And he's just given verbal permission to couple to the train. Technically they shouldn't do it without. That's it, couple up, the train will be ready to return. And what a lovely view again this morning. This is our Pullman dining train. I promised you a surprise, and here it is. It's only the second time it's been out since lockdown. And also, you've seen the Yank 300, you've seen Northiam number 25, and now we have our third back in steam. Here's the Great Western Pannier. The Great Western Design Pannier 1638. And it's good to see that back in steam again. I've taken a still photograph of the train because it's easier to explain it that way. I'll tell you about the history of the individual coaches then. Same procedure applies. Set the points back, lock the points, and again you've just heard them, the guard give permission for the engine to go straight on. Now you've twice heard and seen how it's supposed to be done, and I hope you'll appreciate that that's a perfect example of how we take safety and procedure very seriously here. We may operate in a relaxed manner, but we do not slip up on safety. And that's the Pullman dining train. I thought it was easier to keep a still photograph on the screen long enough to explain about the vehicles in our Pullman train, rather than try and explain it on video on the platform with various people moving around. As you look down the platform, you notice the green carriage. That is a Monsell built in the 1930s, and that was mainly for the continental boat trains, Waterloo to Southampton, and no doubt it probably saw use in the Victoria to Dover and Folkestone trains as well. Moving along next to it is one of the two what I call slim gyms on the train, and I'll talk more about them in a minute. Next one down is our unclassified restaurant, and that has been in use for some years now. It's getting a bit long in the tooth, and we intend to replace it with another unclassified restaurant vehicle, which is currently undergoing quite a comprehensive restoration and fitting out. Hopefully now that will probably be in service next year. The two slim gyms are Pullman cars Theodora and Barbara, and they were built for the Charing Cross to Hastings line to a narrow gauge, and that's because at least two of the tunnels, Mountfield I know for certain, and I think Wadhurst and another one near Tunbridge Wells, but don't quote me on that. When they were built, they had problems with the roof and they had to be relined. Unfortunately, what that meant was that two trains of normal gauge could not pass in the tunnels. So from then on, they built all the stock for the Hastings line to a slightly narrower width. And we got to know that particular type of vehicle as a slim gym. The last vehicles of that kind were built in 1957 when the diesel units were delivered for the Hastings line, and also a small quantity of the class 33 diesels, the Cromptons, which handled the general freight on the line and also the trains to the gypsum mines near Mountfield. Instead of rebuilding the tunnels, what they did was give them a makeover and singled the line through the troublesome ones, and so now locomotives of any height and width can go through on the line, and that means you'll see these giant powerful class 66s, or sheds as they're known, bringing these trains in and out of the gypsum mines. So there's plenty to see if you are around there. And that is our Pullman train, and it's been nice to see some happy, contented, socially distanced diners on the train today who were very kind and said, keep our money, we don't want a refund, we hope you can give us our dinner at some time during this year. We are now beginning to give these people their dinners. So if you want to book the Wilden Pullman, you obviously won't be able to do it for this year. Keep an eye on the website, and once you see bookings open for next year, get in quick because they sell out very, very fast. I'm not going to film the next train that comes in because it'll just be a repeat of what you've already seen. But I just thought I'd have a quick pan round. hoping you can see this view as I'm seeing it. I don't know if I can actually can I get out of this sun anywhere here? Oh, I can make that a little bit better. Yes, there we are. Bodiam Castle in the background, and I don't know if you can hear the tractor. He's turning his silage, it's nice and dry before baling. It's a lovely sunny afternoon here at Bodiam Station, and the great pity is it would have been a perfect weekend for hoppers, and we haven't been able to have it. But hopefully we'll be back next year, bigger and better, and we look forward to seeing you again then, if not before. So bye for now.